Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another rules breakdown. And this time I'm going to be having a look through the A Time of War Quick Start rules for the Battletech RPG. Now I covered this on a modern RPG video the other day, but we're going to be actually delving into the rules this time. Now, the Quick Start rules and the free RPG Day 2012 Quick Start rules, the rules are identical. And I'm going to be flicking between the two, because for the sample characters, I actually prefer the ones from the original Quick Start rules, as they have some traits which are more advantageous, so we can see how those work. Whereas in the RPG Day 2012 rules, all the traits seem to be disadvantageous. So I don't think that's quite a good way of looking at the rules, although it does make for better role-playing experience. Now I'm going to be flicking between all of the characters. Mainly I'm going to be using the soldier, but for example the combat tech and the mech warrior have a lot more skills than the soldier, so it'll be far better to use them for skills examples. But anyway, let's get on and have a look at the rules. Now for resolution, there's two types of tests. If we turn to page 5, we can see there are actions. There are attribute checks, and then over the page on page 6, the skill checks. Now, attribute checks, first of all, are when you're trying something relatively simple. So you're trying your strength to lift something heavy. You are taking 2d6, and then you are adding that attribute against a target number. Now, going back to the rules and turning on to page 9, we can see attribute checks for a single attribute. The target number is 12. So 2d6 we'll throw. We get 7. He's got an attribute of 6. So he has beaten 12, so he has lifted that heavy thing. He has succeeded. If he's trying something like a sports game, which requires dexterity to catch a ball and physical strength to batter through, an American football type game or whatever, he's using 2 attributes. So he's taking his strength, which is 6, his dexterity, which is 5, he's adding what he rolled on his dice, which is 7, so he's got 18. And we look at the target number for attribute check double attribute is 18, so he'd succeed on that one as well. Now, there are modifiers for everything, but skill checks are where it really comes into it. Going back to page 6, because skill checks explained. Now, a skill check is based on the target number given to you by the skill, and you've got bonuses based on your level of it, and lots of modifiers. So, we've got things here like on the scout, he's got stealth skill, whereas a soldier doesn't. So let's try this soldier's sneaking. Well, it's based on his reflexes plus intelligence. So his reflexes are 7, his intelligence is 5, so his target number is going to be 7. But if we go back to page 9, we've got modifiers. So attempting an untrained skill check, so trying stealth, is -4. So he's going to be rolling 2d6. -4 is 3. So he has not beaten 7. So he would fail in his stealth check. And basically it's all built around these action check modifiers. So if a task's very easy, you get +3. If it's extremely difficult, you're -5. You've got targets at point blank range. You've got if your character's injured or fatigued. These all modify your dice rolls. So there are lots of pluses and lots of minuses involved in every skill use. The other thing is, flicking back, is opposed actions. If 2 people are trying something, so 2 people are arm wrestling, it's based around them both making the same attribute check, but it's whoever succeeded by the most wins. So it's not necessarily the best dice roll, it's just who succeeded by the largest faction. So their attributes are taken into effect. So this can be a bit, I succeeded by 2 points, I succeeded by 3 points, right, the 3 points is the one that wins. The other thing you've got is edge. Now looking back at the soldier, he's got 5 points of edge. Now edge can be burnt. And basically it's like force points, inspiration in Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. You use it up. It recovers over time, usually between adventures. Now, using edge in play, if you spend it before you make the dice roll, you can modify the dice roll by 2 points for each point of edge you burn. So if you spend 2 points of edge, you can modify your dice rolls by 4. Either way, up or down, whichever you want. If you are making the edge or using the edge after you've made your dice roll, each point only counts for 1. So 2 points only affects the dice roll by 2 up or down. Or you can force a reroll. So if you make your roll and you failed, instead of burning edge to modify the dice by a small amount, if it's just rolled bad, you can spend edge to re-roll the dice. Now initiative's dealt with on page 10, so if we flick on a couple of pages, we can see the initiative phase. And this is basically each character rolls 2d6. Now this is an unmodified roll unless you've got certain factors to it. So the soldier has the trait Combat Sense, where they roll 3d6 and use the 2 highest. But that's the only thing that affects it. It's not affected by your attributes. It's only in the effect of a tie that the person with the highest reflex goes first. So the soldier is going. He gets to roll 3d6, ignoring the lowest, so he gets 10. Whereas the scout is going, he rolls his 2d6, and he gets 7, so he's going second. And it's just going down in order. In case of ties, you deal with it by the highest reflex. Now, actually, in combat, basically everybody gets 1 action, but it can be broken down. So you've got incidental actions, which you can perform up to 5 of in your turn. You've got simple actions where you can do 2 of, and you've got complex actions which you're only allowed to do 1 of. Now you can combine simple actions with incidental actions, but if you're doing a complex action, that's all you can do that round. Now over the page on page 11, we've got incidental actions, so drop prone, gesture to someone, speak a single word. Simple actions, we've got lead team, load weapon, melee attacks, use simple object, crawling, running, etc. And complex actions, you've got taking careful aim, extinguishing fire, using complex objects, evading, sprinting, etc. But that's how it works. It's whoever rolls the highest first, and you break down your actions into what you want to do based on incidental, simple, and complex actions. Now, combat attacks are ordinary skill rolls, so they're dealt with in the same way. So if we look at the soldier character, they've got small arms skill, which they would use to fire their automatic pistol here, where they are rolling against a target number of 7, and they're getting +4 on the roll. But the thing is, in combat, it's detailed on page 11 and 12 for melee combat, it's lots of modifiers, like the skill rolls. So we've got things like point blank range, short range, extreme range, got light cover, heavy cover, we've got target size, so if you're shooting at small or big things. If they're moving, if you're moving, the target number's changed. If you're fatigued or injured, it's modified. If the target's stunned or surprised, you've got modifiers. But taking it down to the absolute basic, stripping away all the other modifiers, which is going to be very unlikely for combat because it is based around these modifiers on a large basis. So we are rolling 2d6 against target number 7, and we're getting +4, and we need a 7. So we throw the 2 dice, we get 5 +4, 9, so we've beaten the 7, so we've hit the target. So damage is based around the weapon and whatever armour you're wearing. So this character, the soldier, is wearing an ablative flak jacket, which has an armour rating of 4, which means it reduces any incoming damage by 4. So the service pistol does 4 damage, that's reduced to nothing. However, the service pistol also has an armour piercing value of 3, so although it only does 4 points of damage, it takes away 3 points of the armour. So there's only 1 point of armour left, which reduces the damage by 1 point, so the person takes 3 points of damage. Now the effects of damage are multiple. So if we continue through, we've got damage notation. Basically, you've got your standard damage, which is double your body, so this character has 14, and your fatigue damage, which is double your willpower, so this character has 10, because their body's 7 and their willpower is 5. Now, fatigue damage, if you take any other damage at all, you receive 1 point of fatigue because you've been hurt. So even if your armour takes down an attack to 1 point, you get 1 point of standard damage and 1 point of fatigue. However, if your armor takes the damage out completely, you get no fatigue. The effects of fatigue and standard damage build. So as well as you can do subduing damage, so you are going just straight to fatigue damage instead of doing it, you can have attacks which do a stun. If you receive a single stun point, then you're stunned until you take a simple action to shrug it off. You can't act, and you're considered as a stable target. You can't dodge or anything like that, so those modifiers to people's attacks won't take into account. But the damage effects. So, injury modifiers. For every amount of damage points suffered equal to 25% of the character's total damage, you suffer a -1 injury modifier applied to all consciousness and action check rolls. So you get a -1 to all your skill rolls for every 25% of your standard damage. So basically half your body, which would be 3.5 in this, but 4 points of damage will do it, and you get -1 for each of those. But also your fatigue damage. For every point of fatigue you get in excess of your will score, a -1 fatigue modifier is applied. So this character's got a will score of 5, he's got 10 fatigue damage, but at 6 fatigue damage, he's got -1, 7, -2, and so on up until his fatigue damage is maxed out and he drops unconscious. Your standard damage monitor, when it maxes out, you collapse dead. Now, although I've mainly covered health already, it's worth continuing slightly about fatigue. You see, you can gain extra fatigue for doing extra actions such as climbing, crawling, evading, swimming, sprinting. You can gain fatigue for doing those in combat. And you can recover fatigue by standing and doing a complex action and resting during combat as well. So you can recover and lose your bonuses if you step out of the line of fire and stand there and catch your breath a bit. Now this is a quick start version of the rules, so the advancement rules are not present. But I would imagine in the full version it's going to be based about buying your attributes up, buying new traits and buying new skills to enhance what your character can do. But I'm afraid I don't have the full version, so I don't know. So that's a quick look through the rules of Battletech, A Time of War, or at least the quick start rules. Now, I can see what they're trying to do with these rules, making it very heavily modifier based, allowing you to tailor it for the exact situation, and your players making the combats and situations far more real, so they're getting every advantage they can get. You know, taking cover, moving enough, etc, etc. However, it feels like a junior school math test to me. You know, roll 2d6, add 4, take away 3, plus 2, minus 6 is the result higher than 7. It feels like a very basic maths test, and it feels clunky and unwieldy. But that's out of play. I can definitely see what they're trying to do, because they are trying to make it more realistic by you sculpting what you're doing in play to gain every advantage you can get. But anyway, it's an interesting system. It's very, very different from the Mech Warrior system, and is very, very different from Shadowrun, which at a first glimpse, seeing that the attributes were basically the same, I thought it was going to be a lot like, especially as it's from Catalyst, who also published Shadowrun. But anyway, I think I've whittled on for quite long enough as usual, so thank you very, very much for watching. But as always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.